what Curzon did was that he enlisted the support of an Islamic fanatic named Khwaja Salimullah, who was the Nawab of Dacca.
Nawab of Dacca.
Yeah. And in February 1904, Curzon had succeeded in seducing Salimullah to support the partition of Bengal. Okay, you have to have this kind of, build up to understand Congress history in its complete detail. So Curzon, his government sanctioned a loan of 14 lakh rupees.
That time,
14 lakhs to this Nawab Salimullah in return for his support at putting down the protests against the partition of Bengal. And it was the same Nawab Salimullah who became one of the founding vice presidents of the All India Muslim League, which was established in 1906. These are not coincidental, all these things. Partition of Bengal begins in 1905. I mean, build-up begins in 1905, partition of Bengal. Bengal is partitioned. 1906, Muslim League is founded. This man is one of the vice presidents.
So the seeds were sowed then.
Yeah. Okay. And we know the final outcome of this All India Muslim League, which succeeded in splintering India and getting Pakistan. Okay. And Nawab Salimullah, who now had the full support of the British government, he swung into action. As a first step, he enlisted the support of various mullahs and Muslim clergy, preachers, and through them, he began issuing out, began radicalizing the community from their pulpits. And we all know the kind of hold that the ulema has on the Muslim community, so it was not a rather difficult task at all. Okay, and then Salimullah also simultaneously recruited a fanatic named Ibrahim Khan. This man authored and published a pamphlet, and I quote, a pamphlet of the most virulent anti-Hindu proclamation and an open incitement of the Muslims against the Hindus. Close quote. Okay, this is by R.C. Majumdar. This pamphlet was titled Lal Ishtahar or Red Pamphlet. Let me read out a few extracts from it.
From the pamphlet.
Okay. Number 1. The Hindus, by various stratagems, are relieving the Mohammedans of nearly the whole of the money earned by them. Among the causes of the degradation of the Mohammedans is their association with the Hindus. 2. Among the means to be adopted for the amelioration of Mohammedans is boycotting Hindus. Ye Musalmans, arise, awake. Do not read in the same schools as with Hindus. Do not buy anything from a Hindu shop. Do not touch any article manufactured by Hindu hands. Do not give any employment to a Hindu. Do not accepting any degrading office under a Hindu. You are ignorant, but if you acquire knowledge, you can at once send all Hindus to Jahannam or hell. You form the majority of the population in this province. Among the cultivators also you form the majority. It is agriculture that is the source of wealth. The Hindu has no wealth of his own and has made himself rich only by despoiling you of your wealth. If you become sufficiently enlightened, then the Hindus will starve and soon become Mohammedans. Point number 4. Hindus are very selfish. As the progress of Mohammedans is inimical to the self-aggrandizement of Hindus, the latter will always oppose Mohammedan progress for their selfish ends. Point number 5. Be united in boycotting Hindus. What mischief have they not done to us? They have robbed us of our honor and wealth. They have deprived us of our daily bread. And now they are going to deprive us of our very life. 5 points, just extract. I mean, it goes on, but I guess,
Yeah, but they're telling enough.
It's very telling. Okay. Quite representative. And then Lal Ishtahar also contained a poem which basically recalled and extolled the glories of Arab military conquests in India and elsewhere, and the poem urged the community to revive the same glory here and now, meaning in Bengal. Okay. The consequences, as usual, were immediate and brutal. Let's look at a few data points here. In East Bengal, there was an outbreak of extremely barbaric violence against Hindus. Komila, which is now in Chittagong in Bangladesh, and Jamalpur, which is now in Singh, again Bangladesh, were littered with the blood and dead bodies of Hindus. For 4 horrific days, unending horrific 4 days, beginning on March 4th, 1907, Komila was witness to unspeakable Muslim atrocities against Hindus, and it was also not coincidental at all that that was the very day that Nawab Salimullah visited Komila, and I quote R.C. Majumdar, why he visited Komila was, quote, to put fresh vigor into the anti-Swadeshi agitation.
So it tied in from that point also.
Okay. I mean, he was supporting Curzon. Curzon had recruited him.
Exactly.
So, R.C. Majumdar narrates what happened next, and I quote, when the Nawab was being taken in a procession through the public streets, there occurred a case of assault against Hindus and looting of a few Hindu, particularly Hindu Swadeshi shops. These incidents were a signal for a general outbreak of hooliganism involving assault, looting, destruction of properties and arson. On the other hand, the government officials were full of praise for the Mohammedans. The Komila riot was followed by various other outbreaks of a similar nature. Considerable bodies of Mohammedans armed with lathis mustered from time to time and molested the Hindus. As a result, there was widespread panic among the Hindu minority population in East Bengal. You see the irony, close quote. You see the irony here, this discourse about, minority and majority.
Yeah, and it seems to be playing out till date.
Yeah.
It's a reminiscent of that.
Right? And then one place was very carefully chosen to set an example of the fate that, set an example basically out of the Hindu community. Okay. Now, the name of this place is Jamalpur, which is now in Bangladesh. A British war correspondent, his name is H.W. Nevison. He visited Bengal during this period, and he gives this eyewitness account in his book, which was later published. It's called The New Spirit in India. I'll read out one small extract. Quote, I have almost invariably found English officers on the side of the Mohammedan where there is any rivalry of religion. In East Bengal, this national inclination is now encouraged by the government's open resolve to retain the Mohammedan support to the partition of Bengal by any means. Alright? It was against the Hindus only that all the persecution of officialdom was directed. It was they who were excluded from government posts. It was Hindu schools from which government patronage was withdrawn. When Mohammedans rioted, the punitive police ransacked Hindu houses. Mullahs went through the country preaching the revival of Islam and proclaiming to the villagers that the British government was on the Mohammedan side, that the law courts had been specially suspended for 3 months and no penalty would be exacted for violence done against Hindus or for the loot of Hindu shops or the abduction of Hindu widows.
It was an open sanction.
A red pamphlet was everywhere circulated, Lal Ishtahar.
Lal Ishtahar.
Okay, it was circulated. maintaining the same fanatical doctrines. In Komila, Jamalpur, and a few other places, serious riots occurred. Lives were lost, temples were desecrated, images broken, shops plundered, and many Hindu widows carried off. Some of the towns were deserted. The Hindu population took refuge in pakka houses. Women spent nights hidden in tanks and wells. The crime known as group rape increased, and throughout the country, there reigned a general terror which still prevailed at the time of my visit.
Horrific.
Quote.
Horrific. And again, this doesn't feature in the history that was read by generations.
Right? And, as an epilogue to this horrific story, that guy, the author of Lal Ishtahar, Ibrahim Khan, this is what happened to him. That is what actually led to these large-scale riots. The district magistrate of Maimen Singh tried and released this Ibrahim Khan on the personal recognizance bond of 1,000 rupees and a mild warning.